Welcome to Friday's devotions, and just a reminder that this will be the last devotions we'll be doing in these mornings until the 2nd of August, when God willing, I'll be starting on that day some devotions in Job, which will be introduced at the midweeks, first of all, the midweeks on the 21st and 28th of July. Back to Jacob. Let's read here from Genesis chapter 30. Verse 1. When Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, she envied her sister. She said to Jacob, "Give me children, or I shall die." Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in the place of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" Then she said, "Here is my servant Bilhah. Go into her, so she may give birth on my behalf, that even I may have children through her." So she gave him her servant Bilhah as a wife, and Jacob went into her. And Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, "God has judged me, and has also heard my voice, and given me a son." Therefore she called his name Dan. Rachel's servant Bilhah conceived again, and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, "With mighty wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and have prevailed." So she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had ceased bearing children, she took her servant Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Then Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. And Leah said, "Good fortune has come." And she called his name Gad. Amen. Rachel experienced the love of Jacob, but this inability to have children brought great pain to her. She envied her sister Leah, who could have children, and she says there at the end of verse 1, "Give me children, or I shall die." And she's now seeking from Jacob what God alone can give. And verse 2 says that. He says to her, Jacob says to her, "Am I in the place of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" And so she is making the mistake of seeking from her husband what God alone can grant. And that's a mistake which many people make. It's a mistake in marriage. I have, over the years, particularly spoken to wives and marriages, and they just don't feel the love from their husbands. Now, husbands need to take that to heart. But the problem was they were seeking a joy, a peace, a contentment that even their husbands couldn't give them. A joy, a peace, contentment that only the Lord could ultimately give. This mistake of seeking from people what God alone can bring, it's true in regards to salvation. People think that by their efforts they can get right with God. Salvation doesn't come by our efforts. Salvation is a work of the Lord and His grace in our hearts and our lives. It's the same as seeing others won for Christ. Yes, we have a responsibility in being faithful to the Lord and doing what God calls us to be a witness for Christ. But salvation comes again by the actions of God. And one of the problems is that people are so busy running here, there and everything, relying on what they do, instead of being at their prayer meetings and getting on their knees at home and praying for that which God alone can grant. Here we have a sad situation where indeed Rachel tries to manipulate the situation. She now uses her servant Bilhah. She treats her very cruelly, and she gives her to Jacob as another wife, and to have children from them. Bilhah has a son, Dan, and Rachel sees this as vindication. And people try and justify what they do and see what they're doing, which is clearly contrary to the will of God, as okay. And people have a twisted thought. There's no place for going and doing that which is contrary to the will of God. Yet people try and justify going against the will of God. Rachel's scheming, rather than producing peace and contentment, produces a low and unfulfilling contest between the two sisters, as we can see in the rest of this section. 11 sons are born, and plus one daughter at this stage. But the amazing thing that despite their sinful ways, God is still so gracious and loving to them. In verse 17, it speaks of God hearing Leah. Verse 22, God hearing Rachel. He is still responding to the prayers of these people. What an amazingly gracious and patient God we have. Let's not try his patience. Let's be those who respond to such love and grace by seeking to be faithful to the Lord, and in obedience, seeking indeed to honour him day by day. May God give you that grace. Amen.